South Jersey's play-by-play home for the Eagles,
Touchdown!
Sixers,
It's good!
and Flyers.
Oh, big save by Carter Hart.
97.3 ESPN, WENJ, WENJ HD, Millville, Atlantic City, a Town Square media station. This is Game Night with Josh Hennig on 97.3 ESPN and the free mobile app. Now, live from the Matt Black Kia Studios.
What a move!
Here's Josh Hennig.
Hump Day Wednesday edition of Game Night here on 97.3 ESPN live in the Matt Black Kia Studios. How is everyone doing on this middle of the week day? Glad to have you guys on board the show. Of course, we will get into the aftermath of Brandon Brooks' retirement, plus the aftermath of the Baseball Hall of Fame decision, all that and more coming up here on the show. It's another Weinberg Wednesday. Dave Weinberg joined us coming up at 6:20 p.m. We'll get his thoughts and perspectives on all of that stuff. You know, I know Dave loves talking baseball, and he was very emphatic. A couple guys should have been in the Hall of Fame who didn't get voted in yesterday. So we'll talk with him about all that coming up in less than 20 minutes from now. You can join the conversation as well at 609-403-0973 to get on the conversation. 609-403-0973. Also can DM the show through the 973 ESPN mobile app. Thanks to First Bank of Sea Isle City. So we'll hit on the Eagles stuff first here because this decision, this announcement kind of just came out of nowhere this morning. You know, you started seeing word the Eagles and Brandon Brooks rookie on a contract renegotiation, and then all of a sudden it's Brandon Brooks retiring. And my first reaction to the news was, I can't say I'm that surprised because I feel like Brandon Brooks is a guy who doesn't want to play unless he's at his best to play. The man's got some personal pride and some personal, respectability, professional belief in himself and what he's capable of doing. And he talked about in the presser about how his body is it's failing him, right? I have to think that he's the kind of guy that there's a little bit of pride that comes with his look. You know, I'm one of the best in the world at what I do, and I'm not able to do it at that level. It makes you wonder if I still want to do it. You know, Brandon Brooks never seemed like the guy who's going to hang on like Jason Peters, because of a variety of reasons. The mental health issue is a big part of it. One thing people don't understand about people who have anxiety and depression is many of those people are also perfectionists. And when you're someone who has anxiety and or depression, and you're also a perfectionist, you don't want to do your job. You don't want to go to your job. You don't want to try to execute at a certain level unless you are at your best. And when you're not at your best, it eats at you. It grinds on you. It makes you doubt yourself. And I don't know if Brandon wanted to deal with that. It makes a lot of sense to me that he said, look, guys, I've had an amazing career. I'm going to walk off on my own terms. I've heard Alex Smith talk about this, about how part of the reason why he retired immediately after his final season was because he said, look, I did it all already. Because, he was a first overall pick. He started in multiple playoff games. He'd been to a Super Bowl. He started for 3 different franchises. Then he has the horrible leg break. He comes all the way back, comeback player of the year. And it's almost like he's like, you know what? I can now leave and not have any, what if or regrets. I think Brooks realizes that, you know what? I had a great career. I won a Super Bowl. I was one of the best in the world when I was out there doing my thing. I have nothing to say what if or regret. So it makes a lot of sense. What this means for the Eagles, though, is that they can go a couple different ways. There's always the option of an in-house opportunity. There's always the option to say, look, we have Driscoll, we have Sayamalu, We have Jack Anderson. We have these guys already in our building that we can zero in on, focus on, that we can go after, right? That we can say these guys can fill the void. And I'm sure that Jeff Stoutland's going to have a say in all that because the Eagles listen to him pretty much more than almost any coach in the building, because the guy's been right almost every single time about everything about offensive line play. So there's that option. There's the option that you go and get a free agent. Now, I'm not saying they're going to go out and get like a high-priced guy. I don't know if they're going to go down the Brandon Brooks path again, where they go and get someone of that caliber. But considering the way the Eagles' offensive line is set up right now, it really feels like that the 2022 line, if we're looking at things as is right now, would be from left to right, Mailata, Dickerson, Kelsey, right guard unknown, Lane Johnson. And considering Seumalo is coming off an injury himself, we don't know exactly what his timetable is going to be yet, but there's a possibility he might not be ready even for the start of the 2022 season. Is that a situation where you have Kelsey come back, you start grooming Seumalo to be the next center, because when he played in college, by the way, and say, look, you'll be the backup center, be the backup guard. You and Herbig will have those split responsibilities, and we'll go out and get a guy. Again, I'm not saying that is exactly what's going to happen, but it is an option. I don't think it can be ignored. And then there's one thing Howie Roseman gets right. There's one thing that Howie Roseman knows how to do, and that's draft offensive linemen, right? Don't we know it? Howie, you can say whatever you want about Howie, but he drafts offensive linemen pretty good, all right? Mailata, Lane Johnson, Dickerson, Seumalo. Even Vaitai was a starter at left tackle on the team that won the Super Bowl, right? Howie can draft some guys. So I will never discount that. I will never throw that out the window or act like that's not a possibility. The Eagles could go and draft another offensive lineman. Now, I don't think it'll be in the first round per se, because I do think it's much more likely that they go out and get a guy in free agency or they stay in-house. Now, you might be asking who's available in free agency. You have a guy in Brandon Sheriff from Washington. He's going to be unrestricted free agent. Mark Glowinski of the Colts. Those are probably the two best guys. Laurent Duvernay-Tardif, I don't know if he's going to stay with the Jets or not. I think his contract allows him to be a free agent because of an opt-out clause. Trey Turner with the Steelers, good, not great. Austin Corbett of the Rams, good, not great. So you have some free agent options. There are some ways to fill the void. But for the Eagles, they have salary cap space. They have a lot of options. I think that there are a few ways they can go with this, and all those ways make sense for the Eagles. You can chime in the conversation, DM the show through the 973 ESPN mobile app. Thanks to First Bank of Seattle City. You can also text in at 609-403-0973. Coming up in about 10 minutes from now, Dave Weinberg doing this edition of Weinberg Wednesday here on Game Night on 97.3 ESPN. Josh Hennig hanging out with you. I wanted to touch on two other things before we get to Dave, because we're talking a lot of the Baseball Hall of Fame and the NFL Eagles stuff with Dave. But, I'm watching Joel Embiid last night. And I mentioned this recently, and I want to bring it up again. I don't think people appreciate this guy. I mean, I constantly see MVP odds are still, I'm going to look it up again right now. But the last time I looked at this, guys like Steph Curry and others were still ahead of him in the MVP favorite category. And I'll pull up the futures right now. Yeah, here it is. So Joel is now in third, but he's still behind Steph and he's still behind Giannis. And this is nothing against Steph or Giannis, but Steph's on the better team than Embiid is, and so is Giannis. the voters are going to have to make a decision this year, because last year they gave it to Jokic because he was the only guy who didn't miss time last year. That's why he got the MVP. Jokic got the MVP last year because he didn't miss a ton of games with COVID, like Embiid. He didn't miss any games with injury, like Embiid. The whole season, Embiid either missed time, a little bit of time due to an injury, but he also missed time due to COVID. Jokic didn't have those problems. So Jokic won the MVP because he was the last man standing, basically, not because he was really the best player in the league. If you were to rank the best players in the NBA right now, you're going to name Durant, LeBron, Giannis, Steph, Luka, Embiid. You're going to name a bunch of guys. Jokic is not in your top 5, maybe not even the top 8 dudes you name, unless you really love the Nuggets or you really love Jokic, or he's on your fantasy basketball team, right? And Jokic is phenomenal. I'm not trying to diss the guy, but Jokic's style of play is not that of a guy who's a dominant force of nature. He's a superb all-around player who has elite passing skills. He's very mediocre to below average on the defensive end. He's a solid but not great rebounder. He's a high-level offensive weapon. Joel Embiid impacts both ends of the court much more than Jokic does. I would give Embiid a slight edge to Nikola Jokic in the rebounding category. I think Embiid is much better defensively. I think Embiid is also much more demonstrative offensively. You know, Joel Embiid said recently that he realized he needed to take his game to another level. Well, it's at another level, folks. It's really at another level. But the fact that he is still behind Giannis and Steph in the awards favorites category, it just has to make you wonder, you know, what are people seeing that maybe the rest of us are not, right? Like, what are we missing? Or what are they missing? And again, these odds are not indicative of who's going to win or not. I mean, John Morant is plus 2,000 in the MVP odds. And the fact that he's that low is honestly an embarrassment, a joke. You watch the Grizzlies, they're a phenomenal basketball team, and he is a superstar, all right? So I'm not going to sit here and act like the betting odds are the end-all, be-all, but I just hope people appreciate what we are watching in Embiid. I mean, Joel Embiid is playing at a level that I haven't seen a player play at in a long time. The young man is 27 years old. He's entering the prime of his career. And he's on a run now where the last game he did not play was December 13th. Since December 16th, Joel Embiid has scored 32, 41, 23, 36, 36, 34, 31, not once, not twice, not three, not four, 5 straight games. Then he scored 25, 32, 32, 50, 40, 38, 42. That's all he's doing. Since December 16th, Joel Embiid is averaging 34 points per game, 4 assists per game, 10.5 rebounds per game, in just over 1.5 blocks. But I still got to turn on fill in the blank television network, ESPN, NBA TV, Fox Sports, and it's all about LeBron and Jokic and Steph. Why don't you come back east, boys, and see Embiid play a little bit. All right, coming up on the other side, we'll get back to the Eagles and the NFL, plus the Baseball Hall of Fame conversation next with Dave Weinberg for another edition of Weinberg Wednesday here on 97.3 ESPN FM and the 97.3 ESPN mobile app. It's free thanks to First Bank of Seattle City.
It's Sixers basketball tomorrow on 97.3 ESPN with the voice of the 76ers, Tom McGinnis, calling all the exciting play-by-play action.
3-point shot up and good. Joel Embiid with 47 points in this game here in Philadelphia.
The Sixers host the LA Lakers. Coverage begins at 7 p.m. Philadelphia 76ers basketball on your radio home of the Sixers in South Jersey, 97.3 ESPN.
Matt Blatt Nissan is looking to shed excess weight this new year, like $5,000. Yep, $5,000 off MSRP on every 2021 Nissan Titan Pro 4X.
Oh yeah, it's on at Matt Blatt Nissan.
Matt Blatt Nissan needs to move trucks. Every loaded 2021 4x4 Nissan Titan Pro 4X, $5,000 off MSRP. Plus, AJ the Trade Man wants to buy your vehicle today. Get cash on the spot or trade it in and drive a brand new 2021 Nissan Kicks SV. Just $299 per month lease. Or 2022 Nissan Sentra S. Just $249 per month lease with 0 security deposit and drive away with peace of mind because only Matt Blatt Nissan has a 4-day love it or leave it return policy. So stop what you're doing and get $5,000 off new Nissans only at MattBlattNissan.com. Negative equity will be refinanced with the new vehicle. 36 months, 10,000 miles per year lease. Call 877-289-6670. It's on at Matt Blatt Nissan on the Black Horse Pike. Egg Harbor Township.
My stomach.
Don't worry, I've got you covered.
When you have nausea, heartburn, indigestion, upset stomach, diarrhea.
What's that?
It's Pepto-Bismol Chews.
Pepto-Bismol's in a chew?
Yeah, they taste great and provide fast relief. And you can always have Pepto-Bismol handy.
Ooh, let me try it.
Try Pepto-Bismol Chews for fast relief.
Nausea, heartburn, indigestion, upset stomach, diarrhea.
Use as directed. Keep out of reach of children.
Hi, it's Pete from Chicky and Pete's reminding you of our proud partnership with Hall of Famer Brian Dawkins and his Impact Foundation that serves needy communities. There is still time to try the exclusive B-Dawk Impact Burger, only at Chicky and Pete's, with $5 from every burger donated to the Brian Dawkins Impact Foundation. It's tasty grass-fed beef with mouth-watering jerk spices, Caribbean pineapple sauce, and jalapeno chimichurri served with a heaping side of our Krabby Sweets. The B-Dawk Impact Burger is a winner for a limited time only at Chickies and Pete's. Fast food or brown bag lunch at work got you down? Let Chicky and Pete's easy-to-use online ordering pick you up. Yes, I'm Pete from Chicky and Pete's, reminding you about our easy-to-use online ordering and convenient curbside pickup. All of your Chicky and Pete's food favorites are just a click away. Order online at chickyandpete's.com and pick up at the Chicky and Pete's closest to you. chickyandpete's.com. Click online ordering, enter your zip code, and order away.
Why does Walgreens offer copays as low as $0 and 90-day refills? Because we care about Medicare, so you don't have to. I mean, do you really care to hear me go on about same-day prescription delivery making your life easier? Or how there's a pharmacy expert available 24/7 and one-click refills? Well, I just did anyways. Fill your Medicare prescriptions with Walgreens and save.
$0 copays apply to Tier 1 generic drugs and select plans with Walgreens as a preferred pharmacy. Restrictions apply. See walgreens.com/Medicare for complete details.
Made a new home remodeling, helping make your dreams a reality.
What does the perfect bathroom look like to you? Does it have a large, sleek shower? Or maybe a deep, relaxing soaking tub? Hi, I'm Brian from Made a New Home Remodeling. We love helping homeowners transform their bathrooms into spaces that bring them joy and relaxation. If you're looking to freshen things up, please contact us through madeanewhomeremodeling.com.
Have you wanted to speak a new language but thought it'd be too difficult or take too much time? Then try Babbel. In just 15 minutes a day, Babbel teaches you conversations that you will actually use. With 14 languages and lesson topics like travel, business, relationships, and more, you'll learn what matters most to you. Babbel. Language for life. Learn a new language with ease. Go to Babbel.com to try for free. That's BABBEL.com.
Bennett Chevy says, we want your vehicle, even if you owe thousands more than it's worth. We can help with expert appraisers on hand to help you get more, and you don't need to buy one of ours. Plus, if you're stuck in a lease, Bennett Chevy is an authorized lease return center for all brands. Looking to trade? Bennett will give you a minimum $7,000 for any clunker, no matter the condition or mileage. That's a minimum $7,000 towards any pre-owned vehicle in stock. And if you've got a good quality trade, you can only imagine how much more Bennett will pay. At Bennett Chevrolet, you always have options. Sell us your vehicle, there's no purchase necessary. Trade your old clunker, get a minimum $7,000 towards any pre-owned pre-owned in stock. Bring us your high-quality vehicle and have our expert appraisers make you an offer you can only imagine. And if you're stuck in a lease, Bennett can help. So whatever your needs or whatever you choose, at Bennett you'll always get more, because nobody beats Bennett Chevy. Egg Harbor Township and BennettChevy.com.
You're listening to Game Night with Josh Hennig on 97.3 ESPN and the free mobile app.
Josh Hennig hanging out with you on a Wednesday edition of Game Night on 97.3 ESPN. I will get to you guys' thoughts and comments in just a bit. We got a couple messages that came in. A couple people disagree with me about some of my thoughts. Not surprising. I like people disagreeing with me. I just hope you come up with a little better argument than one person who just texted in. We will get to that in just a bit. But right now, as we do each and every Wednesday, it is a Weinberg Wednesday. Dave Weinberg, catch all of his coverage over at 97.3 ESPN.com. Follow him on Twitter as well. Dave Weinberg 19 joins us right now to talk more about a few different things here on 97.3 ESPN. Dave, how you doing today?
Doing well, Josh. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good. So before we get to the Baseball Hall of Fame stuff, which is probably going to get both of our heart rates pretty escalated, Brandon Brooks retires. Him and the Eagles work out a contract renegotiation that'll basically help the Eagles in the end and let him walk away with some extra cash, basically. But I'm not surprised, Dave, that he retired. Considering, his injuries and considering the mental health stuff, you just have to think a guy like that is like, you know what? I've lived a good life. I can go out on my own terms here.
Yeah, I mean, it was great to see, too. I mean, a 10-year veteran, nothing but class. Gave all he could for the Eagles for 4, 5, 6 years. I don't know what it was, but yeah, it's and I'm happy for him because, like I said, he played at a very high level, but the injuries just began to take its toll, and he had a very hard time getting healthy and getting back on the field, not getting any younger. So yeah, I mean, what he's been, considering all he's been through and all he's accomplished, I was happy that he was able to go out on his own terms, like you said.
And the other thing is, and this is not to be a forum specifically on mental health, but one thing people don't understand is a lot of people who have anxiety and depression, they also happen to be perfectionists. So part of that is, you get so worked up about doing something that, maybe for someone like Brandon, this is almost like a relief for him to retire, because now it's like, hey, I don't have to stress about being my peak self each and every week. Because when he was at his best, Dave, you could argue he was the best right guard in the NFL. And for someone like that could be a lot of pressure too.
Yeah, I mean, anxiety is something he's been dealing with for a while now. There was a point where he had to miss a couple games and was forced out of a couple games because of it. And I don't know. I don't think that was the reason why he retired, though, because he said he's been able to get a pretty good handle on it in recent years. But you're right; it is a little bit more of a relief, I guess, for him, because his anxiety was totally based on his fear of failure. That he just wanted, like he said, if he had 80 good plays and 5 bad ones, all he would focus on were the 5 bad ones the next week. It just consumed him, and he was such a perfectionist, and to a point it helped him and become one of the best right guards in the league, if not the best. But yeah, it did take its toll a little bit, I guess. But I think it was more the physical challenges, the torn pec, ruptured Achilles. It seemed like the injuries are really starting to pile up for him. So I'm glad he was able to walk away.
The other cool thing is that now he says he's going to go get a more advanced degree. And
going to the Wharton Business School, I think. Yeah, he's going to apply there anyway.
Talk about a guy. He said that he saw the Broke documentary by ESPN's 30 for 30, and that really kind of like impacted him. So it's cool to see a guy saying, hey, I'm now going to take my time and do something more with my life. That's pretty cool to me.
Yeah, I mean, the Eagles are kind of known for that. And I remember Connor Barwin doing the same thing, Brian Dawkins. They have a very good track record when it comes to just furthering their careers in another avenue, whether it's business or entertainment or charity work. And yeah, Brandon's a smart guy. I mean, he's a very well-rounded guy. Football is just one part of his life. And it's good to see him, pursue other opportunities.
Now for the Eagles, they have a few options, Dave, because they have salary cap space. They can go out and get a free agent if they really wanted to. They could stay in-house with one of the many random guys that Jeff Stoutland has figured out how to maximize over the years. I'm sure that whatever Stoutland says, the Eagles will probably just do whatever he says. But the point is, the Eagles, from the draft to free agency to in-house, it's not that they don't have options. It's not like they're a team like, let's say, the Atlanta Falcons that are up creek without a paddle.
Yeah, I mean, they played the entire season basically without Brandon this year. Lane Dickerson, the rookie, stepped down and did a fantastic job. And I think he might be, at least until Jason Kelsey retires, I think he might be the right guard. But you have Jack Driscoll, who got hurt but was playing very well. Yeah, you have several interior linemen there that are certainly capable of stepping in. Nate Herbig or Isaac Siamalo, whoever you want to point to. But they have a lot of depth there. So I don't really see the need to have to go out and get anybody. I think they have plenty of talent when it comes to interior linemen right on the roster already.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying they're going to have to go out and get a guy. I just think that it's interesting that, Brandon Brooks's situation is going to help relieve the Eagles' salary cap, which is already going to have some space. Right. Depending on which website or analyst you want to listen to, the Eagles are top 10 in most cap space available for free agency. I mean, personally, I want to see them sign a veteran wide receiver, but
same.
Hey, if they go out and get, let's say, and I'm not saying it is specifically this guy, but Laurent Duvernay-Tardif going to be a free agent for the Jets, a guy who used to play for the Chiefs, a guy who didn't even play football for an entire year because he was working in the medical field, helping people with COVID. He's got fresh body pretty much. That's a guy that might be inexpensive. I wouldn't be surprised if the Eagles did something like that.
Yeah, sure. I mean, we'll kick the tires on a few guys, I think. I mean, you never can turn your back on anybody if you think he's going to be the right fit or at their price. But you're right. I mean, there's better, more pressing needs, I think. Like you said, wide receiver being a big one. Secondary, I think, is another one that they can really upgrade themselves in free agency if they choose to go that route.
You mentioned the secondary. They have Nelson, Macleod, and Harris, all free agents. 3 of the 4 main starters in the secondary, they're on the free agent market. Do you even want to bring back any of those 3 guys? Maybe only one of those 3 guys? How are you looking at those guys?
If I'm going to bring back any of them, it's Rodney Macleod, only because of his veteran leadership. He's still a half decent player, I think. I mean, that's kind of like damning praise, but I still think he's a solid safety. Getting a little long in the tooth, but I think you get another year or two, do a lot worse than him. But Steven Nelson didn't impress me even a little bit. Other safeties also, same thing. I think I'd rather maybe take my chances, bring Rodney back, try to develop Kevon Wallace and some of the other younger safeties there.
Would it make sense, because the Eagles haven't done this in a long time, would it make sense for them to even draft a safety high? For example, the last guys they did that with were Nate Allen and Jaquan Jarrett, and that was almost a decade ago.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. Yeah, if there's a guy there, I think there's been a lot of talk about the Notre Dame guy who's very highly regarded.
Kyle Hamilton, yeah,
I don't know if he's projected. He's projected more as a safety than a linebacker. So yeah, that's something I would. Yeah, I don't see any reason why they wouldn't go after one of those first round picks.
Yeah, maybe Lewis Sine from Georgia. He led them in tackles this year. He's a guy who can drop in the coverage. I mean, I don't think we know 100% what the Eagles are going to do because they never really tell us anything anyway. Let's be realistic. This is an organization that acts like, football is like the Pentagon sometimes. So
that's true. Very true. Yep. Very secretive.
Dave Weinberg joining us here on Game Night for an edition of Weinberg Wednesday here on 97.3 ESPN. Check his extra point columns over at 97.3ESPN.com and follow him on Twitter at Dave Weinberg 19. All right, let's get to the annoying stuff. Okay. Baseball Hall of Fame is announced, and I think that people like you and me, we're just very opinionated on this. There's nothing that can be done about it.
Yep.
To me, Dave, I'll start with this. The fact that, and I'm not saying Ortiz shouldn't be in the Hall. I'm fine with him being in the Hall. There's a bunch of dudes in the Hall who are way worse players than he was. Let's be real.
True.
But the fact that 2 of the best players at their positions all time, Bonds and Clemens, got completely shut out of the Hall by the voters. And I understand it was only 35% of them, but those 35% should be embarrassed of themselves, Dave.
Yeah, that's an absolute disgrace, Josh. It really is. I mean, those guys should have been in long ago. I understand the steroid use, the PEDs or what have you, but we've since moved long past that. I think those guys were the best at their positions, like you said, maybe the two of the best of all time. For the writers to hold some sort of personal grudge against those guys or portray themselves as some sort of, I don't know, saint or martyr by not voting for these guys, I think it's a disgrace. If you can't see that Bonds and Clemens are Hall of Famers, then you should never vote.
And this gets back to the whole thing, Ortiz, he liked everybody. He was friendly.
Oh,
People
yeah,
liked
yeah.
him. He was gregarious. Clemens and Bonds just walked to the beat of their own drum. I thought one of the best things, people haven't seen it. So Ken Burns Baseball, the final chapter of it gets into 98 and McGuire and Sosa. And they document in there, like, look, Bonds look at those guys with such venom. He was like, you know what?
Yeah.
If they're going to do something, watch what happens when I do that kind of attitude.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
And to me, that kind of spiteful attitude is what makes some players just elite. It's Jordan holding every grudge ever against him that made him great, right?
Mhm.
To me, I don't hold that against Bonds, but listen, it wasn't illegal. Let him do whatever he wants. Taking HGH or the cream or whatever he did specifically didn't make him get intentionally walked the most times in baseball history. It was because he was the most feared guy on the planet for several years.
Yeah, I mean, it's all it seems like it's turned into a popularity contest, and that's just not right. Those guys were jerks when we were in the league. I understand. I mean, I had some dealings with Bonds when I was doing some Philly stuff for a newspaper, and it was yeah. I mean, he's not the most likable guy, but that should have nothing to do with this. They're the best in the game. They belong in Cooperstown.
Yeah, it reminds me of the story about, the reason why it took Jim Rice so long to get to the Hall of Fame, the Red Sox outfield, was because him and the media didn't get along.
Correct.
And there were media people who admitted they didn't vote for him because they didn't get along. Like, those are the people who just had their vote taken away. Like, don't vote then. You shouldn't be involved in the process. This is a museum. This isn't the Hall of Morality. This isn't the Hall of, we are all kumbaya best friends. It's the story of the history of the game. And if I can't tell the history of the game without Barry Bonds, I'm sorry.
Same, Roger Clemens, same thing. Yep, absolutely. Yeah. I agree with you. It was just there was a guy who didn't vote for Derek Jeter, I think, on his ballot, just to say that he wasn't being a unanimous selection. That's freaking retarded. Excuse me, ridiculous. You know in your heart that he was a Hall of Famer. Why would you not vote for him just because you didn't want him to be unanimous? What's the difference? My goodness. I don't get their thinking at all. I really don't. It's just stupid to me.
Yeah. And so now, and the other thing is, don't forget, the other thing people can keep in mind is they made the term that you're on the ballot shorter now. It used to be 14, 15 years. Now it's 10. So you literally could have had a new group of voters coming in the next 5 years who could have pushed Bonds and Clemens in, but conveniently they got cut off at 10. Whereas a guy like, and I'm not saying he doesn't belong to be in, but a guy like Jack Morris got to maximize the entire 15. You know what I mean? So it's like, they pick and choose who's the good guy and who's the bad guy. When to me, Dave, the real bad guy is the voter who doesn't do the right thing.
Absolutely right. Yeah. I mean, no, I don't know. I guess they have some sort of veterans committee, I guess. Like
they have a veterans. Yeah.
And I would hope that those guys will get in that way. I mean, for them to not get in at all would be just an absolute travesty in my view. It's just so frustrating to see them get bypassed year after year after year. It makes no sense to me at all.
When I ask this question, I don't even know if there's a right answer for this, Dave, but you spent your entire career around a lot of people, not just athletes, but people who cover sports.
Yep.
What is it about the people who cover sports? Because you're not in this category. It's some of your other media brethren over the years. What is it in them that thinks that they should be judge, jury, and executioner of people's everything? I don't understand this.
Yeah, I guess it's all about ego or wanting to control things. I mean, I'm a voting member of the International Boxing Hall of Fame. I don't let personalities cloud my judgment at all when it comes to picking fighters who I think are deserving. I go over their careers, the impact they had in their respective era, and then I vote accordingly. I don't care if the guy was a jerk or whatever. If he was the best, in my view, from what I could see, then I vote for him, and that should be the way it is in every sport. I mean, personalities and egos, and the feeling that I'm bigger than the game in some form. I just think it's stupid. I mean, that's not. You shouldn't have a vote if that's your attitude.
Dave Weinberg joining us here on Game Night on 97.3 ESPN. Dave, you mentioned boxing. I got to ask you, because I know you were keeping a very close eye on Russell defending his belt. Well, he lost that belt to the guy that, at least according to the broadcast, and you could tell me if this is right or not, that this is supposed to be the next Manny Pacquiao. I don't even remember how to say his name correctly, honestly.
Magsayo.
Thank you.
Yep.
But the two biggest things I took away from that is, one, I gotta say, it looks like it was a good crowd. It looks like there was a very good turnout over there. At least the TV cameras showed. And the other thing is that wasn't the only fight on the card that was interesting. It actually ended up being a pretty entertaining card for the most part. So it seems like the premier boxing card return to Atlantic City, at least for Showtime's purposes, was a success.
It absolutely was, Josh. It was the crowd, the arena was packed. A lot of electricity there. People cheering, waving flags, even booing. It was just a fantastic night for Atlantic City and for boxing. I was just so happy to see a big event come back to town. And based on what I heard and what I saw, I have a feeling there's going to be more coming. It's never going to return to what it was, obviously, but I do think that there's definitely a place for boxing in Atlantic City, and the Russell Magsayo fight and the two before that. They were all three were terrific fights, and I think it really bodes well for the future.
Yeah, and also the Matthias, what was it? The guy's name, Petros Anyan. Is that how you say his name?
Yep.
I mean, that was like a rock'em sock'em robot a couple times.
Yeah.
I literally got away from the football because I got stuck watching these fights. It was like one of those things. I'm just looking at. I'm like, how are these guys still standing? And it was just, it was great to see the crowd and the boxing kind of meet at one. You know what I mean?
Yeah, those are one of those special fights that really draws you in. Like you said, neither one was willing to take a backward step. They just went at each other from the opening bell. And, there's probably some people that find that a little off-putting, I guess, or kind of cringe at it. But you can't question those guys' heart, their courage, their determination. It was just, and it's fights like that really make boxing a special sport, at least in my view anyway. That should be a contender for Fight of the Year.
Well, look, let's be realistic. People choose, what they think is good or bad in today's world. Everything is subjective instead of objective. This form of quote unquote combat sport is okay, but this sport isn't. And this stuff.
Yeah, that's true. The one thing I want to point out, the only downside to the whole thing was I really had a problem with Jim Gray's treatment of that referee after the first televised fight. The guy made a mistake. He didn't view it as a knockdown. He viewed it as a slip. It turned out to have an impact on the verdict. But for Gray to make the guy watch it 3 or 4 times and then kind of mimic him, I just thought that was completely unprofessional and uncalled for.
Yeah, well, I guess Gray's getting to I didn't see that personally, but I was a later in the car. But for me, I'm assuming that Gray's at the point where he thinks he's just above reproach at this point.
Yeah, he does. He does. He's very high opinion of himself.
I mean, for me, the thing that made me head turn at first when I flipped over to Showtime, Dave, I first flipped over during halftime of the Packers 49ers, and then I kind of got stuck there for a while. I had to go back and watch the Packers 49ers on my DVR. But
sure. Yep.
I'm looking and I head turned because it was Ronaldo with Bernstein on the call. And I mean, you're talking about two people that stylistically on a broadcast are polar opposites. It was they didn't do a bad job. I'm not the guy who throws guys, but it was a very different sound. Let's put it that way.
Oh, I didn't hear it at all because I was there, but I can see that. Yep. I can see that be opposites. Yep.
So Magsayo, so is he the real deal? Is beating Russell that kind of win that catapults him, or do they just put him a little higher than he was? What does this mean for him?
If he had beaten Russell at Russell's best, I mean, Russell had a shoulder injury coming into the fight, basically fought the whole fight one-handed and still almost won. I mean, Macleod's got a bright future, trained by Freddie Roach, so he's got some backing behind him. Pacquiao was kind of in his corner, too, as a supporter, being that they're both from the Philippines. I'm not ready to say that he's ready for any, like, big-time fights yet. I think a rematch with Russell would be only natural. Russell being the champion for 7 years, losing a really close fight with an injury and a bunch of other stuff that he had to deal with. I kind of see a rematch in the making there, and I would hope so anyway.
I mean, it was a complicated evening for me, at least. I mean, you had 2 wars on the Showtime card at the end of that, the co-main and the main. You had 2 wars on the UFC 270 card with the co-main and the main. And, I mean, for goodness sake, Ngannou had multiple takedowns with 2 ripped up knees. And then Gane was good. Cyril Gane complains after the fight, I wasn't prepared for that. Well, you shouldn't get taken down by a guy with 2 ripped up knees who's now going to be out for 9 months, who's taking you down. But fine, whatever. But it was a crazy Saturday night for me, at least. Trying to bounce back and forth between everything. And then it was probably only after 2 a.m. in the morning I finally got to sleep after I caught up on everything. So
yeah, I didn't get home until like 1:45. So yeah, I'm with you.
Yeah, well, your reason was because you still had to drive home. It's not like you're like
that's true.
It's not like you live right next to Atlantic City. You know?
Yeah, that's true. Yep.
Dave Weinberg joining us for a Weinberg Wednesday. Follow him on Twitter at Dave Weinberg 19. Check out his extra point columns over at 973ESPN.com. And he joins us every Wednesday for a conversation of many topics right here on Game Night on 97.3 ESPN. Dave, always appreciate you jumping on the conversation, and take care.
Thanks, Josh. I appreciate it as always. Talk to you next week.
Josh Hennig here on Game Night on 97.3 ESPN. Great stuff from Dave there, recapping all the stuff that was going on recently, the boxing, the Baseball Hall of Fame, the Eagles. We covered a lot of ground there with Dave. Always great to talk with him. We'll wrap up the show coming up the other side. As promised, somebody texted in. They disagree with me, and I still disagree with them. Find out what it's about next on 97.3 ESPN.
It's Sixers basketball tomorrow on 97.3 ESPN with the voice of the 76ers, Tom McGinnis, calling all the exciting play-by-play action.
3-point shot up and good. Joel Embiid with 47 points in this game here in Philadelphia.
The Sixers host the LA Lakers. Coverage begins at 7 p.m. Philadelphia 76ers basketball on your radio home of the Sixers in South Jersey, 97.3 ESPN.
Matt Blatt Kia has a solution to your New Year's resolution. Don't drive around in a car you hate. Trade it in for something great. So bring us any trade, no matter the make, no matter the mileage, no matter the condition, and put 0 down. Pay 0 interest for 60 months or make no payments for 90 days. If you're currently stuck in a loan or lease, Matt Blatt Kia can get you released. Choose from the largest selection of certified pre-owned Kias. So why make a resolution you can't keep? Trade in your old heap and drive away in a new Kia with 0 down and 0 interest for 60 months on every 2022 Kia Stinger, or make no payments until next year.
It's gotta be a Matt Blatt Kia.
Offers with approved Tier 1 or 2 credit through Kia Motors Finance. Not all will qualify. 0% based on 1667 per 1,000 borrowed. Negative equity financed into the loan. Excludes taxes, title, license. Offers don't combine. Call 877-289-6670 or go to mattblattkianj.com for complete details. Expires 2/6/2022. Matt Blatt Kia, 6211 Black Horse Pike, Egg Harbor Township, and now on Route 37 in Toms River.
Why does Walgreens offer copays as low as $0 and 90-day refills? Because we care about Medicare, so you don't have to. I mean, do you really care to hear me go on about same-day prescription delivery making your life easier? Or how there's a pharmacy expert available 24/7 and one-click refills? Well, I just did anyways. Fill your Medicare prescriptions with Walgreens and save.
$0 copays apply to Tier 1 generic drugs and select plans with Walgreens as a preferred pharmacy. Restrictions apply. See walgreens.com/Medicare for complete details.
TracFone Wireless knows that everyone needs an endless amount of data. So why pay for it? Get unlimited talk to text with 8 gigabytes of high-speed data for just $40 a month, with unlimited carryover data so you keep what you don't use on America's largest and most dependable networks with nationwide 5G. TracFone Wireless, now you're in control. Available at major retailers. 5G compatible device required. Actual availability, coverage, and speed may vary. See terms and conditions at TracFone.com.
Dorothy Roofing Call 1-877-97-Kevin.
Hi, I'm Kevin Daly, the owner of Dorothy Gale Roofing. Do you have a leak? Do you need a new roof? Give us a call today for honest, wholehearted advice at 1-877-97-Kevin.
Wizard quality comes with DorothyRoofing.com.
Hey, Ray Magliozzi here. I don't know about you, but my car could use a few upgrades. I mean, the 8-inch tear in the driver's seat does have sentimental value since my butt has molded to fit it, but I'm ready to move on. My solution? eBay Motors. They've got all the right parts at the right prices. 122 million of them, from seat covers to whole new seats. When I get that new seat, I think I'll put the old one in the living room, right next to the minivan seats, or as we call it, the sectional. eBay Motors. Let's ride.
Well, I started my own restaurant because I love to cook, but that also means a lot of greasy pots and pans. And we can't waste time with endless sink changeovers. So we upgraded to Dawn Professional Pot and Pan.
Dawn Professional cleans 58% more pots and pans per sink than the leading competitor.
Less dish soap, fewer changeovers, and more time doing what we love.
Dawn Professional. It's clean. Upgraded. From P&G Professional.
Love is in the air at Cowtown Cowboy Outfitters. Check out the most beautiful Montana Silversmith jewelry for men and women on January 29th and 30th and save 20% on all Montana Silversmiths jewelry. Not looking for jewelry? Cowtown Cowboy Outfitters has the best selection of trendy Western apparel, from cowboy boots and hats to jeans, belts, and so much more. Want to look and feel like you live at Dutton Ranch? This is the place to go for personalized and attentive customer service and the best selection around. Open 7 days a week and online at cowtowncowboy.com.
We're planning a trip to Spain later this year.
But our Spanish
is pretty bad. So we're using Babbel.
Babbel's conversation-based method teaches you real-life words and phrases. And with Babbel's interactive, bite-sized lessons, you'll remember what you learned.
There's no easier way to learn another language.
Ahora hablamos español.
He just said, now we speak Spanish.
Babbel, language for life. Now try Babbel for free. Just go to Babbel.com. That's Babbel.com.
O'Reilly. This is Sarah's O'Reilly Auto Parts story.
Driving cross country with 2 young children is ambitious, to say the least. Then our check engine light came on. We pulled into O'Reilly Auto Parts and they tested it. Turned out it was a faulty sensor. They referred us to a great mechanic just down the street and we were back on the road in no time.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
Hi, it's Pete from Chicky and Pete's, and it's Pro Football Playoffs time. Chickies and Pete's is ready with the most outstanding in-game experience anywhere. Come join the best fans in the world to watch all the action and hear the sounds of the game. Enjoy ice-cold draft beer, our outstanding craft beer selection, and all your game day Chickies and Pete's food favorites. The Pro Football Playoffs and world-famous crab fries. What a combination. Chickies and Pete's, the home of game day and the best fans in the world. Hey, it's Pete from Chicky and Pete's, and we love to party. Order Chicky and Pete's catering to go for your next party, office or corporate gathering, even your next virtual event. Chicky and Pete's catering to go menu features full or half pans of more than 24 of your Chicky and Pete's favorites. Seafood including crabs, shrimp, mussels, and clams, plus burgers, cheesesteaks, roast beef, and pork, salads, wings, and of course, our signature crab fries. Click catering at chickiesandpete's.com to see our menu. That's chickyandpete's.com.
Now, more Game Night with Josh Hennig on 97.3 ESPN and the free mobile app.
Josh Hennig back here hanging out with you here on Game Night on 97.3 ESPN. Yes, by the way, no Sixers, no Flyers tonight. It's an open calendar on the local sports schedule tonight. So enjoy it. It's very few times in the last several months that we haven't had must watch something at night. I mean, obviously there's always sports on every night, but it's a little different when it's not a certain caliber or your team's not involved, right? So Josh Hennig hanging out with you. Couple messages came in earlier in the show. Of course, you can join the conversation, DM the show through the 97.3 ESPN mobile app. Thanks to First Bank of Seattle City. Also, you can text in at 609-403-0973. Also, if you have the 97.3 ESPN mobile app, it is 6:50 on a Wednesday. Well, on Friday at 6:50, we will announce the South Jersey High School Athlete of the Week. We do that each and every week here at 97.3 ESPN. This week's nominees are Emma Peretti from Hamilton. Junior has had 8 double-doubles in the last 9 games for the Lady Hamilton Blue Devils. Jameer Smith-Blunt of Holy Spirit. The junior made 6 3-pointers and 7 attempts in their victory over Ocean City on the coaches versus Cancer night. Archie Lawler of Lower Cape May Regional. This junior scored 25 points for the Caper Tigers in an upset victory over St. Joseph Academy. He's also, by the way, a third leading scorer in the Cape Atlantic League. Damani Almodovar, St. Augustine Prep wrestler, is a senior. Keeps winning on the mat, helping the Hermits advance to the state's top 20. He has been working well all season as a wrestler on the mat. Cole Jennings is a swimmer from St. Augustine Prep who has won 2 events while leading the undefeated Hermits past the previously undefeated Egg Harbor Township and moved the top 20 in the state in swimming as well. And then final nominee this week is Akisky Mikulski. She is a senior for Wildwood Catholic. She had 6 3-pointers in the win over Hamilton. She's one of the Cape Atlantic League's top perimeter shooters. She has made 3 or more from the behind the arc in 6 different games this year for the Wildwood Catholic girls basketball team. So a lot of great nominees. Vote for them all right now over at 973ESPN.com. Or if you have the 973 ESPN mobile app, you would have gotten the alert today. You would have been able to vote pretty much immediately when the alert came in to your app. So we will announce the winners officially on Friday's show. All right, message came in a little bit earlier over at 609-403-0973. Person chimes in, anonymous, didn't leave his name, so I was going to call him anonymous, said, I'm a Sixers fan, diehard Embiid fan, but you're crazy if you don't think Jokic is a top 8 player. Actually crazy. Jokic is one of the best big men ever, and he's 27. Put some respect in that boy's name. All right. First of all, calling me names isn't going to help your argument. All right. People call me names every day. All right. But if you think Jokic is one of the best big men ever, I think that Wilt and Kareem and Shaq and Hakeem all have something to say about that. All right. Let's relax on the hyperbole. All right. Let's relax on the whole, he's the greatest I've ever seen thing. Because first of all, if you think Jokic is better than Kareem and Wilt and Shaq and Hakeem, there's a possibility all 4 of those guys disagree with you. Now, one of them can't because he's no longer with us. But what did all 4 of those guys do that Jokic doesn't do? They play defense. I can't say you're one of the best big men, as you put it, one of the best big men ever. I'm reading your quote, and he's 27. Well, he's got to play some defense. Basketball is a two-way game. This isn't football where there's offense and defense. One guy plays one side of the ball, one guy plays the other side. No. If Jokic wants to be on that hallowed ground with the greatest big men ever, especially guys like Kareem and Wilt and Hakeem, he's got to start playing more defense. He's got to be more aggressive on that end of the court. Honestly, I think at times he uses defense as an opportunity to position himself to be able to do more offensively. Now, I'm not saying it's a bad thing. It's actually pretty smart. Listen, he's 27 years old. He obviously has a pretty good head on his shoulders, high basketball IQ. Is he a top 10 player in this league right now? Maybe. Doesn't make me crazy because I don't like his defense. I don't. I hold against players who don't give a certain level of defense. You don't have to be a defensive player of the year candidate. You just have to give me a little more than just hanging out in the paint, moping around, waiting to get back on offense like Jokic does. Listen, nobody's perfect. I'm not saying Embiid is perfect big man either. I just like the fact that Embiid has more of an impact defensively than Jokic does. That's not crazy. That's facts. I'm Josh Hennig. This is Game Night. I'll catch you tomorrow.
Health Update with Robin Stoloff. Learn more, live better.
General rule of thumb, if it tastes sweet, it must not be good for us.